Guys, it's Miss Klaus here again. My family decided that tonight they wanted to have our homemade chicken pot pie recipe. I start with a homemade pie crust. If you want to use a store-bought pie crust, that is great. But we're trying to use stuff that we have available to us, like flour and butter and salt, things like that, that hopefully everybody has access to in their house. So I'm going to start with that. I'm making a batch that will make a top crust and a bottom crust for my pot pie. But this recipe is really good for any pie that you choose to make. And I like to make it up, and then I will store it in the freezer sometimes. So if you want to make up a couple of batches and have them ready, that would be great. You want to start with your ingredients, and I will post the recipe on the cover photo that I'm going to put on the video. But you want to start with some all-purpose flour. It's measured, we have 2 cups. Then you want to use an unsalted butter. And what I've done with the butter, you want to be really cold. Everything is really, really cold to get a nice flaky crust. Is I chop up my butter, and then I get these lovely little cubes of butter that we're going to mix in with our flour. So we have our 2 cups of all-purpose flour. I'm just going to put it in here. Then you're going to mix in 1 teaspoon of salt. Sprinkle that in. Super easy. I like to whisk it up to evenly distribute all of that salt. And then drop in these cubed butter pieces. Just kind of sprinkle them out. I wash my hands really, really well. So that would be step number 1, really. And sprinkle it all in this dough mixture. Now, if you do not have a KitchenAid mixer or a food processor, you can do this by hand. I would just use a really sturdy fork and then cut in the butter into the flour. That would be fine. I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to put this in my KitchenAid just because it's a little bit faster, and I have old hands, and sometimes that just makes that job a little bit easier. So I'm going to go and see how I'm slicing that butter to make these cubes. I actually forgot a few of those, so that's how you do that, and that just makes it go a little bit faster, a little bit smoother, but just make sure that it is super, super cold. And then the last ingredient is ice cold water. So I literally put ice cubes in my water here, and then I'm going to go ahead and add 3 ice cold tablespoons of water into my mixture. It actually calls for, I guess, 4 to 6 tablespoons. I like to put half in it first, see how it goes, and then if I need to add more, I can do that. So what I'm going to do right now is take my bowl over here to my KitchenAid stand right here. Put that in there. And we are going to blend that until it's a nice gooey consistency, and I will show you in just a second. Blending up this mixture for a few minutes. I'm going to show you what it looks like with my 3 tablespoons of water, and I'm going to have to put some more, so hold on. So this is what it looks like so far with my 3 tablespoons of water. Not quite holding together like I would. It's getting there. So I think I'm going to go ahead and add about 2 more tablespoons of that ice cold water and see where that gets us. It should pull away from this bowl and kind of go into a ball. So hold on tight and we'll see if we can get it there. So this is what it's starting to look like in the bowl. You can see it's starting to make a nice dough here. See that? And when I'm even pulling away from the side, that's what I mean. And I think we are done with that. This is what that dough looks like when it pulls away from that bowl. That's what I mean. And that is just perfect. It's soft. It's sticking together. It's not really super sticky. That is perfect. So what I'm going to do now is I told you that I made enough for 2 crusts. So I'm just going to separate these out about half and half or so. And what I need to do right now is combine all that together. We'll make a nice little pretty ball of dough. And take that in the refrigerator a little bit. There we go. And I'm going to put it in my bowl. And I'm going to chill it for a little bit since it got kind of hot when it was being mixed up, and even from my hands and things like that. And so I'm going to put this back in the refrigerator. And then what I'm going to do is show you guys how to mix up a nice little mixture for your pot pie. We're going to do chicken pot pie because we have leftover chicken from a roasted chicken that we did a few days ago, and we put it in the freezer, so we're going to use that. We've got some leftover vegetables that we've had from our meals throughout the week, so this is a perfect way to take all that food and put it together and make a nice hearty meal on this rainy, dreary day. We want to be real careful about the food that we use and that we don't waste any, and this is a perfect way to take all that stuff that we've used all week and put it all together. So I'll be back in a little bit and I'll show you how I do that. We're back again. We're letting our pie crust chill a little bit in the refrigerator. And while we're doing that, we're going to go ahead and start our oven. We're going to put it on about 425. We're going to preheat that so that'll be nice and hot when we're ready to put our pie in the oven. In my saucepan, what we're going to do is basically make the roux first, and then we're going to make the gravy, that nice creamy stuff that goes into your pot pie. So I've added about 3 tablespoons of butter, salted or unsalted, whichever one you prefer, and we're going to spice this up here in a little bit. And let that butter get nice and melted in your pan. And then when it's not, don't get it too hot. You don't want to burn the butter and have to start over. Just on a low heat, and let that butter all get nice and melted in there. And then we're going to add a thickener. So I'm using all-purpose flour. It's about 2 to 3 tablespoons, depending on how thick you want it. You can thicken with cornstarch if you want to, but I always like to use just a regular flour. Everybody usually has that, so it's pretty easy. You're making a gravy like you would make just about any other gravy. That's kind of the start of it. Okay, so I'm just going to keep whisking this around, and then as soon as that butter looks like this, if you can see, it's all in there. Not very much. You don't need very much. So it's all nice and melted. And then I'm going to sprinkle and whisk my flour with my butter. I have 3 tablespoons in here. I don't think I'm going to need quite, so don't pour it all in at once. Mix a little bit at a time so that you can get a nice, so it's going to start to come together. You can see that, and that's really, you don't think that's very much, but that is perfect for this. And then what we're going to do with that is add a half a cup or so. I like to use heavy cream. No, my recipes are not low fat, but it's okay. And then you're going to take that you have, and you're going to mix it all together, and you're going to let it heat up. And it's going to thicken just like a gravy would thicken up. Okay, while it's in there, I'm going to go ahead and add some cracked pepper, more or less to taste. I like a lot of fresh cracked pepper, so I add a little bit more to that. Then I'm going to, since my butter was unsalted, I'm going to go ahead and add some salt to that. You can add a little bit onion powder to it if you'd like to. But I keep it pretty simple. This is going to be fine. It's just something here we have. So my sauce is actually starting to come together and thicken up. It's really nice and pretty. You can see into that pan. There you go. and it's going to get nice and hot and thick. And that's what's going to make that yummy binder. If you guys are in my art class, then you know what that binder is. It's where you have all of these ingredients, which in our world would be pigments, and you have to have something that brings it all together. Well, this is the binder for the pot pie. It brings all those ingredients together. So I like to let it get a little hot. You can see the steam coming off of it, but not too hot. You do not want to scorch this because it does have butter and it does have milk, and if it gets too hot, it will burn, and we do not want that to happen. So I'm just going to keep stirring this up so it gets to a thickness that I like. So I'm going to let it sit for just a minute. And then I've gone and got all my vegetables and my chicken and everything ready. So like I said, I had some leftover chicken and I chopped it up real fine, about 2 cups or so. It's a good amount. This is chicken that we ate the other night for dinner, and I just put the leftovers in the freezer because I knew we were going to do this one day soon. I had some roasted corn that we already had done, so I got to have about 2/3 cup of that. I had a leftover baked potato, so I chopped that up, and that's about 2/3 of a cup of that. I did not have any all mixed vegetables or green beans ready, so I just pulled out some cans out of the cupboard. Use that. You can dump the whole thing in there, but your pie might be really big. So I'd say a 1/2 cup to 2/3 cups of some green beans. Whatever vegetables or things that you might have, that's great. So you're going to see that this is really starting to thicken, if you can see that. And that's good. If it gets a little too thick, like this is a little thick because I was talking to you, I'm just going to go back over here. I'm going to turn off the heat. I'm going to get a little bit more of this cream and put it in there. And take it off the heat and whisk it back together, because if you leave it on that heat, what's going to happen is it's going to keep getting thicker and thicker and thicker. So you just want to turn that heat off. No big deal. If all you have is regular milk at your house, that is perfectly okay. So we have made this beautiful, creamy, I don't know if I can get a spoon out and show you how nice and creamy that consistency. See how it's just kind of dripping out? Oh, that's beautiful. That's exactly what you would like that to look like. So we're done with this whisk. The whisk really helps it. You can use a fork if you don't have a whisk, but it keeps it from being lumpy. You don't want big lumps of flour and things in your gravy. And then I'm simply going to take all of the ingredients that I have. I'm going to dump them into my gravy. Don't forget the chicken. It is chicken pot pie. You don't want to forget that. Okay? And then you just want to pull up all of that gravy, mix it in with all of those ingredients and stir it around. And then I'm going to finish this up and I'll be right back. Hey guys, that's what your mixture should look like. It's really quite nice. I can't wait. I'm going to get out my pie crust and roll it out. So if you'll hang on, I'll get that ready and I'll show you what to do next. Okay, now I have one of my pie crusts that I'm going to work on. I'll leave the other one in the refrigerator until I need it. And then I'm going to really generously dust my surface. You can use your countertop. I like to just put mine on a cutting board, something like that, because it's a lot easier to clean up at the end of things. Okay, sprinkle the top of this, and you're going to roll out your pie crust. I like to keep turning it so I get a nice round shape because I'm putting it in a round pie pan. So I like to roll mine out pretty thin. I like a nice thin flaky pie crust. Again, you don't want to rework it too much because then you lose all that tenderness, I would call it. in your pie crust. So by hacking this up, I get a pretty nice, consistent round for this. Okay? You don't want to roll it too thin because you don't want to get a hole in it. But you see how my pie crust is not sticking to my rolling pin? That is good. That means it's not super sticky, but it's rolling out nice and easy. I think we're going to have a really nice crust. So how do I get this crust into this pan? The easiest way is I take my crust and I roll it up onto my rolling pin, and then I'm going to roll it down over here and roll it onto my pan. Okay, make adjustments as needed, move it around. It's pretty sturdy, it's going to be okay. Okay, and if you have a little spot here, push it around, smoosh it down into that pan. Okay, and it fits pretty good on that pan. Then when you get done with that, you're just going to take a knife and find the edge of that pan and just zip off the excess of this pie crust. Perfect. My oven went off just a second ago, so it's telling me that it is ready for my pot pie. And as you see, I'm almost ready to put it in there. I'm going to take my mix of all my vegetables and my yummy gravy, and I'm going to throw it in there. This, move it around. If you have too much filling, you have too much filling. I like to mound mine up a little bit. This is really not going to hurt anything because what we're going to do is roll out the top, the other piece of pie crust, and lay it on top. This is really fitting in there really nicely with those measurements that I gave you guys. And then just kind of smooth it out. Okay, like that. I'm going to put that to the side, and then I'll roll out my other pie crust. I'll be right back. I have my second pie crust rolled out. I'm going to lay this on top of my pie like this, and then I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the bottom crust. You'll see you have a little bit more left because it didn't have to sink all the way down into that pie. And I'm going to find the edge. Zip off. You'll see you have a little bit of extra pie crust. If you had some extra filling and you didn't know what to do with that, you can re-roll this out together, and you could put that filling in there. You could make a little Louisiana style hand pie if you wanted to, and put that in the freezer, and you'd have a little something for lunch on another day. Okay? So you have to throw out all that nice pie crust. And then, around the easiest way I do it, I'm not doing anything fancy today. I'm just going to use a fork, and I'm going to press into it all the way around to seal my pie so that my filling does not run out the sides. That would be bad. I always put mine on a cookie sheet in the oven because if you don't and it does kind of seep out a little bit, it gets all over your oven and then you have a big mess and then you have to clean it, and I don't like to do that. So make sure that you put it on a tray, and then I just let some of that heat and steam escape. Just poke some holes in the top, and it looks like this. And I'm going to put it on a cookie sheet. I'm going to throw it in this oven and set my timer for about, let's say, 35 minutes. start, and then I'll keep you posted on how it turns out. Ooh, we're looking pretty good. Just a few more minutes. Guys, we have about 5 more minutes left on this pie. And you can see it's getting really nice and toasty around the edges. But I'm going to do this. I have some melted butter here. You know, I like the butter. And I'm going to dab it, and I'm going to just brush that onto the top of my pie crust. It'll make it nice and shiny and beautiful and help that top part kind of crisp up a little bit more and kind of catch up to the edges. Because right here, it's still a little bit soft. It needs just a few more minutes. And I'm going to put it back in the oven, and I'll be back in a few. I got it out of the oven. I actually put a little bit of a broiler on it so it got nice and brown on the top. If you use a broiler, be careful. Do not walk away from the oven because it'll burn really, really fast. So what I'm going to do is let this cool down for about 15-20 minutes, and then we'll cut into it, and then we'll see what we have. Guys, we're back again. Dinner is ready. This is what your pie looks like completed, and I cut into it. It's just beautiful. This is how I plate it. I just have some brown rice with it. And that's our cooking lesson for today. Remember that you can use ingredients that you have available to you. If you don't have any leftover chicken, you can use a canned chicken. If you don't have chicken at all, you don't have to use any chicken. It can just be a vegetable pot pie. Just please be mindful about kind of what you consume. Use those leftovers. If you need help with any of this, make sure that you know that you can reach out to me. You can reach out to your teachers. We love you and we miss you, and we would love to see you on the internet. If you want to talk to us, hit us up on Facebook or social media, and we would love, love, love to hear how you are doing. Until next time, bye-bye.